Welcome to Potlatch 94. 4 days in September 1994 that changed Metlakatla, that encourage us, that give us the excitement to continue on with our culture. I'd like to present this videotape to you as a gift, a final gift from that potlatch. Thank you all for the help that you gave, and thank you all for the love that you have for your culture.
Stands out, and that is right at the beginning of the potlatch, when the drummers came in to the hall and the dancers came into the hall. I felt like finally the constraints, the restraints on our culture, on potlatching, and whatever restraints were put on us by the government, it was gone. And this was like a start of a new era for our people. And my son was there with me, and I was in tears, and it tears me up when I think about that moment, and it was very special.
The grand entry was really exciting, and all the months and the years of preparation were over, and all the clans and the visiting dance groups and anyone who wanted to lined up and danced in, and people who never had the opportunity before got their chance to dance, and it set a trend for the potlatch, a continuous 4-day surprise, and the town hall seemed to shake with the drums and the songs and the moccasin feet. It was really awesome.
They began with the drumming, the drummers, and then they brought on the dancers for the grand entry. And the drums were beaten so loud, and so it was just such a warm feeling that it brought tears to my eyes.
My favorite parts of the potlatch that really stand out in my mind are the coming in procession, where the drums came first and went on to the stage, and then each dance group came, and that was just outstanding. It took a long time for all the dance groups to come into the room, and they filled the whole gym, and that was pretty memorable.
I wrote a song called Ts'msyen. It means come in. And we assembled a group of people representing all 4 clans, and we'll open the potlatch with it. The song said, "Come in, don't be afraid. We've set a place for you. Come and eat our food. We'll dance, we'll sing, and we'll have peace." Each clan opened their night with new songs and dances. The Ravens' night was special, not only because they were the first ones to present their new songs, dances, but they were the only clan that had a song that was an old song that had been kept in Solomon Guthrie's family, and was really grateful that he and his family had given the song, and so that his daughter and the Ravens could present it. It was a great song, and I'm really glad they did.
One of the most exciting things for me is to see these things, the artistic productions, masks and robes and decorated things actually used, because so much in non-native culture, even that is appreciative and focused on native art, tends to see it hanging on the walls, either in a gallery in someone's home or whatnot like that. And certainly they stand up as beautiful objects in that context, but it's so different when you get to see these things in use and see the effect they have on people, of the way they beam and smile, knowing, you know, that these things represent not just something of their own creation or their friends and neighbors' creation, but that it goes back in history and that they're doing something that their ancestors have done proudly for all those many centuries. And you can see that on their face.
To feel right about wearing your dance blanket, it needs to be dedicated at Potlatch. It needs to be worn in public and talked about, and to let everybody know who you are and where you're from and how proud you are of your clan and your family. It makes you really feel a part of the whole process. Dance group is a really awesome dance group. They have very strong leadership and seem to have a lot of fun represent Metlakatla extremely well no matter where they go. We had them open the potlatch because I think that they are the future of our culture in Metlakatla. The children are really excited and proud when they dance, and it shows.
The importance of the potlatch to our son's generation is that they'll be comfortable in their tradition. They'll be comfortable dancing in front of people. They'll be comfortable in front of other people when they sing and when they tell stories. It will be a natural way of being. They won't have to work at it so hard. And I think, again, I can't go say it enough, how much pride this is going to give our future generations.
I think the biggest thing I ever did, at least up to that point, hopefully not for the rest of my life, was getting those kids ready for the potlatch, the Children of the Mist, forming the dance group, having practices, getting kids interested and getting their parents interested in bringing them to practices, and raising the money and getting to Alaska from Seattle. We had a 1,200-mile drive, and there was a number of adventures that we had to go through just between Seattle and Prince Rupert and to get on the ferry. So it was quite an adventure, and if I had to do it all over again, I'd still do the same thing, except I'd get some help, I think.
This was the first ever performance by the Seattle-based children's group, the Children of the Mist. It's led by my friend Robert Fredrickson. They had to travel a long way. In fact, they came the furthest to the potlatch, and it was their very first time. They did a real good job, even though they were nervous. And my friend Robert did another good job telling stories, too, throughout the potlatch.
one of the biggest things about the potlatch was that people got together and made things happen, and people learned that they could. I mean, people began to get a sense of what they were capable of, and an enterprise of this kind is just about the only way to make that happen. You know, something big that makes people come out of themselves and grow beyond what they thought they might have been capable of.
If there were no potlatches during my time, my children and their children would not have anything. If there were no potlatches, they would lose total contact with their traditional ways. The language is almost gone. The traditional ways were almost gone, but thank God for people who really feel that their roots are very important to them. They go back and they'll learn all of the traditional ways, the songs, the dances, the carving, the food. If these potlatches have stopped completely, we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't have anything to look back to.
Raising a totem pole for me was very exciting and scary at the same time. I tried my best to keep calm. My dad helped me, and it worked out okay. I enjoyed it. It went up very successfully, no troubles, and it was nice to have the kids group help. I think my generation can keep our culture alive by not forgetting what it's about and where it started, and most importantly, not forgetting where you came from and who was the most important teacher, and remembering what that teacher told you.
One of the proudest days of my life as a father was when my son raised the memorial pole to his maternal grandfather on the second day of the potlatch. One of the historical significance of that day also was that it was probably the first time that a child has been in charge of a totem pole raising, and even more significant was that was raised with the help of children, all children. They carried the pole, they raised the pole, they did the singing, they did the dancing.
The Ts'msyen came to live on this island. Today, the descendants of those people are here before you to show you their pride in their culture, to show you who they are. The wolves are coming out of the forest.
The second evening of the potlatch was kind of an important time too, because of the Wolf clan and their impact on the potlatch, being that they were the smallest clan historically in Metlakatla, and their numbers were increased though prior to the potlatch by adoptions and people coming from out of town who belonged to the Wolf clan, and other clans helping them too, and their night went on and went off as successfully as any of the other clans too. I was really proud of my cousin Joe, who was their MC. He's a Raven, but he stood up for his wife and the other members of the Wolf clan and did a really good job. struck a strong emotional chord with people in Metlakatla. Even though it's been over a century since our people moved from British Columbia to Alaska, we still feel close ties to these people. And besides being a really strong and happy dance group, they brought, I think, a little feeling of validity to this potlatch by just being there. And I was really glad that they accepted the invitation to come.
drumming was so overwhelming. It woke up our people, I know for sure it did, because it's part of us. The drum means so much to us. We didn't know what to expect. We were all anticipating an old song, and yet they did one from modern times. Oh, what a beautiful doll. And it was very funny.
Maybe the most important moment in the potlatch activities to me was the massing of the drums. It's interesting how drums have become so important in contemporary potlatching, especially in those that are among groups that are really trying to revive their traditional ways. And that was a very special time when everybody came out with those drums and all singing together and drumming together. I think that was to me, the most impressive moment.
The drum is not only a drum. The drum represents the heartbeat in the mother's womb. The drum beat represents the heartbeat of the mother. The drum beat represents the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And last, the drum beat represents the heartbeat of the universe. Everybody should know this and pay deep respect to the drum. It's not only a noise maker, it's a symbolic of the universe. And then too.
Ts'msyen are coming today. They're coming to see what this potlatch is all about.
The sleeper mass is a real favorite. It's exciting, and it came out alive and dancing and bouncing and playing games back and forth with the partner mass. And it was really gave me a thrill to see it used in its cultural context.
This is Robert Lease. His father is Ronald Lease. His grandfather is David Lease. This man belongs here. This is my very best friend. I'd like you to welcome him back home again.
We kind of look and see how I looked in the mirror, and we kind of practiced before we met. And so when we went out and it all started, my heart was really pounding away, and I tried not to be late. I didn't want to be too early. I wanted to do a good job, and so I kind of really backed out of there. And once we got out there, I really got into it. I really tried to be the character of the mask, and really tried to move the eyes and tried to have an effect on the audience. And it was a lot of fun.
Well, my most lasting impression of the Potlatch 94 is the feeling of the coming together of the people. That the one thing that stays with me most of all is the marvelous sense of cooperation and thrill that people had in seeing their old ways once more brought out in a place where they had been gone for so long.
It really helps in the 20th century world of an Indian living in a modern society to still maintain with your roots, your traditions. And you can still go forward, live in the modern world, but still keep one foot in your old traditions. I think it's really important.
To me, this potlatch was important in a couple of ways. It taught me things that I didn't know about my culture. It just helped me understand what my culture was about and where it will go in the next generation.
Without the potlatch and without cultural events, our native people would be lost in this prevalent society because they are different. Native people are different, and they do have a different way of thinking. And if they didn't have their traditions to continue, then there wouldn't, I don't think they'd be as strong of people. I think we need our traditions to continue being native people, to be strong.
The killer whale pole, because I had talked about this with David Boxley, and 2 years prior to the potlatch, and it finally came down to that one day for me, and it was a historical day for me. The raising of the pole was a real learning experience for me, and the summer was quite a job working with David Boxley with this pole, and by the time we got to raise that pole, it was just incredible. A feeling I can't even describe it. You would actually have to be there.
It's always exciting to be part of the raising of a totem pole, and especially the raising of a carver's first pole. I was pleased to be involved in it, and honored to be involved in the handling of that pole and taking care of it, and it was a very exciting time for me.
I was talking to the killer whales, and I told them I'd like to have a chance to carve a crest pole for the killer whales. And this is my big donation for Killer Whale Night. The killer whale on top represents the killer whale people. The two faces in the middle of the pole are the killer whale people. One is the woman on the left, on your left, and a man on the right. And for a lot of years in our village, a lot of the people were confused about where the bear should be. The bear has always been with the killer whale, with the Ts'msyen people.
And on this pole, it's a subclan of the killer whale. On the bottom, you'll see the bear. And this is for all of you, killer whale. Ts'msyen like half ammunition. You must down. Like half Ts'msyen.
Discovered new talents that we had for gift preparation and new friendships and family. The family of killer whales here in Metlakatla are basically one family, and the families have grown so large. I've always known who I've been related to, but we've never got together to work together and laugh together and learn to love each other as individuals. This potlatch has brought us together, and that is my greatest discovery. I love working with the people I work with. We had so much fun. It's amazing how much fun in the killer whale basement headquarters that we had, getting ready for this one day. To the elders, our whole purpose tonight is dedicated to our senior citizens. And this is all in memory of our ancestors that have gone on before us. That has been our driving force, and I think everyone has gone beyond themselves to show respect for their families, who we are as a family, and this respect that is deserving of the people that passed on before us, that gave us life, and the people that we as human beings represent. We're proud of what we did. I'm proud of my family, and may you enjoy the evening.
I was excited about Killer Whale Night because I was going to play a real important part in that night. But I was very proud to be with my clan and to dance in with my clan. I never had that opportunity before to dance with the people from my tribe, and so I had it, and I was real proud, and I was excited.
the gathering of people from all over the northern coast, the people that came from various communities in Alaska and British Columbia, northern British Columbia, and presented their traditional dances. That seemed to me to be the most memorable thing.
On behalf of the Washington dancers, I would like to thank the city of Metlakatla and its elders for inviting us here. It's been a great honor. I would also like to thank the Shianaku dancers for dancing with us. The next song we will be doing is the Good Luck song. All donations will be greatly accepted, and the proceeds will be going to the potlatch. Thank you.
I spoke to members of our potlatch planning committee, and we agreed to give the proceeds of that dance to the Children of the Mist, dancers who have come the farthest from Seattle and came broke and are leaving broker.
One day, an amazing thing happened. There was a certain village, I believe it was along the Nass River, and the people of this village were going hungry because they had nothing to eat. And every day they had organized themselves to go out into the woods and bring back every little piece of food that they could find out in the woods. And sometimes they would go 1 or 2 days out into the woods just to go far enough where they could find some things that may have been overlooked. And every day they would come back, and every day they would have just enough food that everyone could eat. And they were so happy. Until someone noticed that someone was missing. And then the next day, they went out into the woods again and did the same thing. And they gathered all the food that they could find out in the woods. And they again brought just enough back with them that there was just enough to eat.
It's really difficult to describe the feeling of being a storyteller just in general, but to be a storyteller telling the stories of your people to your people at a potlatch, which is a very cultural thing. It's almost overwhelming sometimes to just think about it, to realize that did that, and that no one can ever take that away from me, and that the people really appreciated it, and I just felt very welcome and very loved, and I felt very good.
When the people saw him coming, till someone said, say, let's get a look inside that bag. So they dragged the bag out into the center of the town, and they cut the bag open, and 3 things. It was still alive. 4 things. It was not very happy. It was hungry. And finally, the thing that got out of that bag was not the same thing that the boy saw in the woods. It came out of that bag 50 feet tall. Black all over its body. Great big black eyes. And a huge snout that came way out in front of his face. People saw that. Open your eyes! And everybody started running, and the monster would come up behind somebody, and he'd pick them up, and he'd stick that snout inside him, and he'd suck them dry. And he'd put that person down, he'd go up somebody else, grab him, stick that snout inside him, and suck him dry. Kill him! And everybody went and grabbed the rubber, and they started hacking away and hacking away and hacking away at the monster. But no matter what you did, the monster would still come after you. I mean, you could cut his arm off, and the arm would still come after you. You could chop his head off, and the head would still come after you. Throw it in the fire! Everybody went and grabbed pieces of the monster, take the monster, put it in the fire, and the monster exploded into millions of pieces. Little pieces of monster all over town. The monster is finally dead. Everybody started jumping around like people did when they're happy. Hey! Until someone noticed that each one of those little pieces began to move. Each one of those little pieces began to take the shape of that original monster. Each one of those little pieces took on the mission and the purpose of their progenitor, which is to eat human beings alive. And that's why we have mosquitoes.
That's 482 of the best spent dollars I have ever heard.
Probably the most magical moment for me was really exhilarating. And that was when I had the opportunity to dance my mask. I had carved this mask a few years ago, and I had saved the mask so that I could dance it at the potlatch. And the mask tells a story about myself, my life, my grandmother, and when I left the community, what I did when I left the community, and then when I came back and joined the tribe again. And I was real happy. I was exhilarated. My senses were at a different level. I'd never had this feeling before when I danced with my tribe. And I was really happy. I was moved. Not to tears, I was just real happy. But to think about it now, it tears me up.
One of the things that stands out in my mind was the coming together of all the clans, the eagles, the ravens, the wolves, and the killer whales. And there wasn't just one good day. All 4 days were just fantastic days. And if we try to put it into what was the best, the whole thing was just the best, and was the coming together of all the clans as a family and not just an individual person who ran the whole show or anything. It was everybody. And that was what stood out in my mind, that we all came together. All these groups. I've always wanted to dance with several groups throughout the years that they've come to the island, and during the potlatch it was really flattering to be invited to dance with these groups.
I was amazed when I got here how many people are here as a reformation to how you feel about the continuation of your ancestry's history that is rich in this area around us all.
how you memorialize that memory and keep it alive through the dancing and the language. We would like to show our thanks by dancing before you, and like to thank all the elders here in Metlakatla who helped their youth remember the history that's so dear to us from all tribes in Alaska, Southeastern particularly. We could hide in the Ts'msyen.
Well, there was one little conversation that I had with this fellow when we were watching the first totem pole being lifted, and it told me a lot. People were sharing their culture, sharing their art, and we were standing just chatting by there, and he said, you know, I'm the only chief on the island. I said, really? And he said, yes, I'm the fire chief.
It's all about the chief, the fire chief. And these are his traits. A lot of people know him by these little things he does, what he says. And so we're going to do it about Nook. This is on the fire chief. He doesn't know about this at all. So this is a surprise to him. The little gestures, the movements you see are what we know, we've known during McIntyre for. So watch closely as the song is sung and the gestures made are on the chief. We are going to make him turn rosy red.
That means Oleg and I.
Fire department client, because I'm the fire department. That's the fire chief. Like jelly, because don't shake like that.
an outsider, it was very heartwarming to see the people in the town being so kind to one another, being so giving of their time and their effort and of everything, food and dance and just a place to stay for people who needed it. And I felt like a member of the town for just 4 days.
We came together, you know, we worked together, and individuals had a chance to succeed and shine and be in the spotlight, and no one tore them down. And for that, we all ended up looking good. I think that is a start of something really good, and I hope that spirit continues.
We need to continue potlatches, feasts, name givings, and things that pertain to our way of life. This has to continue. We can't just do it every other year or at certain celebrations. This has to continue throughout the year.
Grandfather is in the air today. The purpose for what we are doing goes beyond me, goes beyond you who are alive now.
The pole raising, I always think, is an exciting event because, for one, whether you're the carver or whether just someone who comes along and sees this object laying on the ground, you see the work that goes into it, you see the shapes and forms, but something about you being above it gives you a much different kind of a feeling, perception about it.
Carrying the eagle totem pole was just an exciting event for me. In the yard where we picked it up, we put the 4x4s underneath the totem pole. People got on each side and they lifted it up. Gee, we must have had 40 people carrying the pole, maybe 50, and I was carrying a piece.
There's a lot of tension about the men pulling the pole to the site and watching them strain under the weight of the totem pole, and then to get the ropes ready and see everybody be instructed and how to pull and where to pull, what direction. And I've seen a lot of pole raisings, but there's always this tension. Is it going to come up right? Is it going to be straight? Is there going to be any mishap? And
it's just a magic moment when something like that, through this effort of just people and people power, is able to raise this thing up. And there's that tense moment when it can be dangerous. I mean, if something fell, you know, people get hurt or even killed. And this thing is going up, and you can just feel the anticipation in the air and the kind of like tenseness. And then when it finally gets up, just the whole crowd just breathes this sigh of relief and joy. It's just an exciting thing to see it standing up. And then you're looking up at it. It's so different it almost looks like a different pole when you see it up. And the excitement that you feel, people just break out in spontaneous celebration, applause or laughter or whatever, singing. It's a wonderful moment. It's a great thing to experience.
When that eagle totem pole was raised, I was excited, I was happy, I was proud, I was proud that my nephew, like 5th generation of the ancestors, could help raise that pole, and we were there to witness it. And I think that's what potlatches are about, witnessing wonderful things that happen to our tribal people.
Raising the eagle totem pole on the last day was, in honor of my grandfather, was probably the highlight of the potlatch for me. All the years of planning and preparation, and just all came to a culmination on that afternoon, and seemed to be what had been a very successful potlatch was made even better for me by being able to say personally and publicly to my grandfather, "Thank you very much for raising me. I love you."
My dad did a very wonderful thing for my yaya, my grandfather. He kept his memory alive and is not going to let it die, and I'm not going to let it die.
We asked representatives from the different dance groups to join us in the Chief's Welcome Dance in the evening, to begin the evening's activities on the 4th day. Thought it was really important for a feeling of unity for the guests and the hosts to dance together. It's based on real strong traditions of dancing and spreading the eagle down, and thought it went really well. Metlakatla is loaded with talented people. It just takes events like this to bring some of them out, let them know they're needed, or that they have a talent that the culture can use. I think under the surface our people have waited for times like this potlatch, a time to stand up and celebrate who they are and to be native without doing it for tourists, to do it for ourselves.
It was good to see so many people involved in seeing new dances, new faces, and everything fell into place. Even our weather for all 4 nights. We didn't know what to expect, but we had a lot of people that night because it was a Saturday night, and I think we did real well for the grand finale.
My Knock Knock, the Six Wolf running, was a real special part of the potlatch for me. We picked ahead of time. We picked 4 people to be the targets of the attendants: Dolores Churchill, Francis Haldane, Bossy Bolton from the Kitsilas people, and also Stretch or Violet Rowan. And I'm glad we picked those 4 people because all of them did a good job, but Stretch was the highlight of that segment, and it was people like her that made the potlatch as much fun as it was. Wayne had a hard time laying there trying to pretend he was dead there while they were trying to wake him up, and she jumped right down on him and kissed him. It was really funny.
enjoyed watching the dancers from different groups, and I learned a little bit. I mean, I've been dancing for a long time, yet I feel like I came out of that potlatch knowing more about dancing, knowing more about having presentations than I ever knew, and kind of looking forward to one day doing a potlatch myself.
I think the potlatch is going to give my daughter memories that she can build on when it's her turn as a leader or as an organizer or a contributor to cultural events. She's going to see what had been done before and build on that tradition. And I think it's important that people of her age take part as young people in potlatches, in cultural events, so that they'll be confident when it's their turn to organize and do for their children.
Next song we sing is a prayer song. We sing this in hopes that tonight will be one of the greatest nights the Ts'msyen people will have witnessed, and that it will remain in everybody's heart for a long time to come.
Nathan's raven dance, of course, is my favorite raven dance, as it is of everyone. And those are the kinds of people that you really have to depend on in order to be able to learn about dance style and the whole character of dance. People like Nathan and some of the traditionalists who have still some of this knowledge. And Nathan is a great dancer, and he should be watched and examined.
I was put on this earth for a purpose. My Father has called me home. I am glad. My Father has called me home. I am glad.
How we came up with my mouth nose. I was commuting from Edmonds across Puget Sound to the Kingston shop. And when we went to that Kingston shop, there was David Boxley and Wayne Hewson. All of us were carving together. And we tried to discuss ways to have kind of a connection with the animal world. And on one of my commutes, I had a connection with the animal world. As I was riding my mountain bike with all my modern biking gear, a well-fed seagull from early that morning flew overhead and landed on an aluminum light post. And before he took off, he relieved himself. And I was about 4 or 5 feet away, plenty of room normally, but anyway, his white excrement hit me on my bicycle helmet, splattered all down, and it sounded like I was in a giant drum. And all the white excrement went all over my t-shirt, and I could smell it. And it was kind of funny later when we discussed it, but this is kind of a connection with the animal world. And figured this is how it was done in the old time. You had a connection with a killer whale, a wolf. And there was once where I saw an eagle alone up by McLeod Bay. But this sounded like the perfect touch with nature. was really important to dance with the fourth generation dancers because a couple years before that, during cultural days, I was able to dance with them before. And at this time, I've been away for a while, and I want to feel a part of the dance group, and part of the community. Because there are, how do you say, fractions of different age groups, and people who don't believe in the cultural things, and people who are just starting to grasp it. So I think it was a way of integrating people who normally we don't we deal with. Like, for instance, each night a clan was in charge of the food, the dancing, and everything. And so people I normally don't associate with, they were a part of my clan. They became like like my relative, my brother. I was responsive to them, and they also helped me out of any problems, and that was really important.
From the first time they got together as a group in 1987, I've been extremely impressed with the fourth generation dance group. They represent all social, religious, and economic levels of Metlakatla, and they come together with one voice. They represent us just in an excellent way wherever they go and wherever they travel and perform. I'm really proud of them, and hope that they have many years more of continued success.
We help each other make our guests feel welcome. It was a very good feeling to see such a thing because our town needs that unity, and this is what really opened their eyes to bring them together and make this a success for the community and all the clans who were involved.
Potlatch 94 was like a moment in time. It's something that I don't think that we could ever, even though we'll do potlatches and we'll have more exciting events, I think it was one of those moments that just happens, and even though we won't be able to repeat it, it's like a stepping stone for us to go on to other things. And I really believe that it was made possible because of all of the people that were involved in it. It was 100 times better than I ever thought it would be.
The potlatch symbolized a lot of things. People getting together, exchanging ideas of how families have done, how many people have passed away, who was born, eating food, sharing food together, and becoming really involved in the art and using the art as masks and blankets. Be proud. Remember that you're still Indian.